From the Delhi studios of Republic TV, it's time for Arnab Goswami on the debate.
Welcome. Rahul Gandhi has truly become an embarrassment. He has displayed a unique ability to fall further every day when it comes to his public utterances. His speech in the Lok Sabha recently was a spectacle in unresearched mediocrity, not worthy of parliament at all, and filled with the kind of vague generalization that even his party MPs hope that he would in the future read from a script written by someone else, but he never learns. Anyway, today the Prime Minister replied. The speech of the PM, which is available on Republic World, is a must-watch from start to finish. 6 years back, I first used the phrase Tukde-Tukde gang to describe the bunch of anti-national lumpens who, from the cozy comfort of a taxpayer-funded life in JNU, were vowing to break India into 1,000 pieces. The phrase has since become popular. I'm happy for it. And the whole country uses it now to describe anti-nationals. Today, the Prime Minister called the Vadra Congress the leader of the Tukde-Tukde gang. He has mocked, caricatured, brutally analyzed, and overall put this party of incapable dynas in its rightful place. I like the Prime Minister's approach. No subtlety, I think, is needed to give a straight message to a party which used a global crisis to target their own country. The same country that put their party in power for 6 decades after independence. And I'm delighted, viewers, that the Prime Minister said what we have on this show all the time. You may hate Modi, but you don't have to take out your frustration on your own country just because you hate Modi. So viewers, we must talk tonight and debate the entire effort to belittle the nation by people who are Indian citizens, running an ostensibly Indian political party, however crumbling it may be. Is this the model for the future? Is this the model for anyone in the opposition? Just because your hold on power is gone, should your ecosystem make the country their target? And are there no lines to be drawn, either of personal decency or national interest? And that is why I put this before you in comprehensive detail tonight. 100-minute speech and 100-minute debate. Viewers, I love bringing the debate to you every night. It's my greatest joy. So let's debate tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I have 2 debates based on the Prime Minister's speech. First, the Tukde-Tukde comment. The Prime Minister's called out their divide and rule mentality. Big debate at 9. And at 10, is he wrong when he says the Congress and the Congress Latians ecosystem is obsessed with him? Looking at that closely at 10, and here are the headlines this Monday evening on the debate tonight.
कि आप में से बहुत लोग ऐसे हैं जिनके सुई कांटा 2014 में अटका हुआ है.
Explosive response by the Prime Minister as he tears into the Congress in Parliament.
आज कांग्रेस टुकड़े-टुकड़े गैंग की लीडर बन गई है.
15 big news points in a 100-minute speech. The Prime Minister calls the Congress the leader of the Tukde-Tukde gang.
और जब अहंकार की बात मैं कर रहा हूं तब तो मुझे कहना ही पड़ेगा, वो जब दिन को रात कहें तो तुरंत मान जाओ, नहीं मानोगे तो वो दिन में नकाब ओढ़ लेंगे.
He shows the electoral truth to the crumbling party, says arrogance stays even though they've been rejected. Criticism is okay, but why run down India? The Prime Minister says the Congress ecosystem is busy maligning the country's image.
सुबह सुबह शुरू हो जाते हैं। और यहाँ मैंने देखा हमारे अजय रंजन जी कह रहे थे क्या रखा है, मोदी 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 करते रहते हो। बोले साहब लोग मोदी 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 बोल रहे हैं। अरे मोदी तो आपकी प्राण शक्ति है।
And the Vadra Congress has crossed all limits in its obsession against Modi, says the Prime Minister. He does have a straight point. He quotes Nehru to the Congress, shows them the mirror on their track record in fighting poverty. And ladies and gentlemen, for the longest time I have been calling out the Tukde-Tukde gang. We at Republic have been exposing the conspiracy to break India. Tonight, the Prime Minister, in a 100-minute long speech, launched a blistering attack on the Vadra Congress, and the biggest of them all was when he called out the Congress for being the leader of the Tukde-Tukde gang. Here is the first clip and then our big debate.
मैं कोट कह रहा हूं, एक क्षण आता है मगर इतिहास में विरल ही आता है जब हम पुराने से बाहर निकलकर नए युग में कदम रखते हैं। जब एक युग समाप्त हो जाता है, जब एक देश की लंबे समय से दबी हुई आत्मा मुक्त होती है। ये भी नेहरू जी के ही बोल है। आखिर किस नेशन की बात नेहरू जी कर रहे थे जी? ये नेहरू जी कह रहे हैं। और माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, यहां तमिल सेंटिमेंट को आग लगाने की भारी कोशिश की गई। राजनीति के लिए कांग्रेस की जो परंपरा अंग्रेजों के विरासत में आई दिखती है, तोड़ो 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 और राज करो, तोड़ो और राज करो, बांटो और राज करो। लेकिन मैं आज तमिल भाषा के महाकवि माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, तमिल भाषा के महाकवि और स्वतंत्र सेनानी आदरणीय सुब्रमण्यम भारती ने जो लिखा था, मैं यहां दोहराना चाहता हूं। जो उन्होंने तमिल भाषा में कहा है उसको मैं अनुवाद जो भाव मुझे उपलब्ध हुआ है मैं कह रहा हूं। सम्मानित जो सकल विश्व में, सम्मानित जो सकल विश्व में महिमा जिनकी बहुत रही है, महिमा जिनकी बहुत रही है, अमर ग्रंथ से वे सभी हमारे, अमर ग्रंथ वे सभी हमारे, उपनिषदों का देश यही है। सुब्रमण्यम भारती कह रहे हैं, गाएंगे यत हम सब इसका, गाएंगे यत हम सब इसका, यह है स्वर्णिम देश हमारा, यह है स्वर्णिम देश हमारा। आगे कौन जगत में हमसे, आगे कौन जगत में हमसे, यह है भारत देश हमारा, यह है भारत देश हमारा। जब हमारे सीडीएस रावत दक्षिण में हेलीकॉप्टर के अकस्मात में उनका निधन हुआ और जब उनका बॉडी तमिलनाडु में हवाई अड्डे की तरफ ले जाने के लिए रास्ते पर गुजर रहा था, मेरे तमिल भाई, मेरी तमिल बहनें लाखों की संख्या में घंटों तक कतार में खड़ी रही थी रोड पर, कोई सूचना नहीं, संदेश नहीं, इंतजार करते खड़ी रही थी। और जब सीडीएस रावत का बॉडी वहां से निकल रहा था, तब हर तमिलवासी गौरव के साथ हाथ ऊपर कर करके आंख में आंसू के साथ कहता था, वीर वणक्कम, वीर वणक्कम, वीर वणक्कम, ये मेरा देश है। कांग्रेस को हमेशा से इन बातों से नफरत रही है। विभाजनकारी मानसिकता उनके डीएनए में घुस गई है। अंग्रेज चले गए, लेकिन बांटो और राज करो, ये नीति कांग्रेस ने अपना चरित्र बना लिया है। और इसलिए ही आज कांग्रेस टुकड़े टुकड़े गैंग की लीडर बन गई है। जो लोकतंत्र की प्रक्रिया से हमें रोक नहीं पा रहे हैं, वो यहां अनुशासनहीनता करके हमें रोकने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। लेकिन इसमें भी विफलता मिलेगी, इसमें भी विफलता मिलेगी। माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, कांग्रेस पार्टी का सत्ता में आने की इच्छा खत्म हो चुकी है। लेकिन जब कुछ मिलने वाला नहीं है तो कम से कम बिगाड़ तो दो। ये फिलॉसफी पर आज निराशावादी, लेकिन उस मोह में बर्बाद कर करके छोड़ेंगे। इस मोह में देश में वो बीज बो रहे हैं जो अलगाव की जड़ों को मजबूत करने वाले हैं। सदन में ऐसी बातें हुई कि जिसमें देश के कुछ लोगों को उकसाने का भरपूर प्रयास किया गया। अगर पिछले 7 साल से कांग्रेस के हर कारनामे, हर गतिविधि उसको बारीकी से देखेंगे तो हर चीज को अगर धागे में बांध करके देखेंगे तो इनका गेम प्लान क्या है वो बिल्कुल समझ में आता है। और वो ही मैं आज उनका खुला कर रहा हूं। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, आपका गेम प्लान कोई भी हो, माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, ऐसे बहुत लोग आए और चले गए, लाखों कोशिशें की गई, अपने स्वार्थवश की गई, लेकिन ये देश अजरा अमर है। इस देश को कुछ नहीं हो सकता। आने वालों को, इस प्रकार की कोशिश करने वालों को हमेशा कुछ न कुछ गंवाना पड़ा है। ये देश एक था, श्रेष्ठ था। यह देश एक है, यह देश श्रेष्ठ है और श्रेष्ठ रहेगा।
MR Venkatesh opening the debate with Pankaj Sharma. MR, I'm so happy the Prime Minister was straightforward. You know, I take great pride in this phrase, Tukde-Tukde gang, because, you know, I coined the phrase in, I think when I saw those lumpens in the JNU campus, I said on air, we use the hashtag Tukde-Tukde gang. It gives me great pride and happiness to see the Prime Minister use the phrase to describe the Congress party. Actually, it doesn't give me joy, but it's the reality. Prime Minister had to say it, MR. So I'm so glad. And I know it must be hurtful for people like Ninon Ering, who's a former union minister and a Congress leader. He's joining us from Nagchair. It must be hurtful for Lokesh Jindal, who leads something called the Rahul Priyanka Gandhi Sena. For God's sake, you don't need a Rahul Priyanka Gandhi Sena. Pankaj Sharma, who's an avowed congressman, and Abdul Razak Khan, who has no option but to be with the Congress. It must be hurtful of them, but it was necessary, don't you think, MR? Don't you think it was necessary? I think it was very necessary to call them the leaders of the Tukde-Tukde gang. Yeah. Opening the debate, MR.
Arnab, congratulations to you because you have coined a phrase which has found resonance in the parliament today.
Razak, 1 minute, just wait. We are opening the debate. We are going to have a lot of fun tonight. Yeah. MR is on the debate.
Yeah.
MR. Yeah.
Arnab, I was congratulating you and said that it was finding resonance in the parliament, and no less than the Prime Minister has quoted you. And secondly, Arnab, what is important is what we have been debating in several of your debates several times over is Congress has degenerated into a Tukde-Tukde gang. It is no longer a political party. It has long ceased to be a political party. It is now what is it, a street fighter, a sort of a lumpen element in the political arena. And the will to represent the people is no longer there. That was brilliantly captured by the Prime Minister. What he said, simply look at it. The Prime Minister said that even for 100 years you don't want to represent the people. They have lost complete connect with the people. They are not representing the people. They are not providing alternatives.
That was absolutely true.
That it has degenerated into a personalized politics of the hate of the Prime Minister, which has metamorphosized into a hate for the country, the Hindus and the majority. To that extent that they want to provoke the Tamils, which has definitive fault lines. And the tutoring comes from no less than the Chief Minister Stalin, that we have always been using the word union of India, rather India as a union rather than one country, one nation. And this is what has happened when you have bad company in DMK, that you end up being thrashed like a fourth standard student by a mathematics teacher who put his seventh table properly.
Look at that. Okay. So Pankaj, just see today, when the Prime Minister said Tukde-Tukde gang, I was told the Congress benches, some people were actually looking at each other and saying, it's true. We are the leader of the Tukde-Tukde gang. Today, this is what we have become. How sad. How sad. Just think about it. You are officially been declared the leader of the Tukde-Tukde gang. Pankaj, I can't hear you. Pankaj, can you hear me?
Yes.
Pankaj?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
As they say in Hindi, jaisi karni waisi bharni,
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
You reap as you sow.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Pankaj. I can hear you. I can hear you. Your party is being declared by the Prime Minister, no less, as the leader of the Tukde-Tukde gang.
Mr. Goswami, I have seen at least 8 Prime Ministers delivering their speeches in the Parliament in past 3.5 decades. And let me assure you that 100 minutes speech delivered by my Prime Minister today was the most inelegant, murmuring, ungraceful, and ham-handed parliamentary speech by any Prime Minister. It is really pitiful that the chief blackguard of pandemic disaster blaming the Congress for pushing migrants into chaos and misery. You, me, and the whole nation is a witness to Modi government's bad administration, mismanagement, horrible mismanagement of the pandemic situation. Migrants had to walk thousands of kilometers on foot, carrying their old parents and young children on their shoulders.
Pankaj, I want to come in with a little, if you allow me, a small factual counter to you.
Oxygen.
No, Pankaj, since I'm asking you, you allow me. Since I'm asking you, allow me. Just listen to me for a minute. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Pankaj. See, this is the way we must do it. Sanju, just wait a minute. Wait a minute. Pankaj, the Congress party said that violence will break out across the entire country. Don't force me to remind you what you did. You should be ashamed of yourself. You were cheering on the violence in Surat in April 2020. You're talking on the program and you were saying this kind of violence will erupt across the entire country. You're calling for violence.
Actually,
you want me to remind you of more?
Ashamed.
How dare you?
Actually,
how dare you?
Should feel
Did you call for violence? Did you literally call for violence in April 2020? Tell me, Pankaj.
Situation.
Mismanagement? The Prime Minister said Congress ne had kar di. I'm happy he said it. You crossed all the limits. And I'm glad people are speaking up now and giving it back.
Modi government couldn't supply oxygen to the hospitals. Modi government didn't do anything to stop the loot by medical mafia. And now Prime Minister holding the Congress responsible.
Arnab,
I think for 2 years, while the Prime Minister has put his head down and worked, you have done everything possible with hysterical glee as the people of this country suffered. I'm glad. I actually think 1 minute, Sanju. I think the Prime Minister should have said this to you a long while back.
You must have
He should have said this to you in more piercing words a long time back. Sanju is on the debate right now. Sanju.
May I? Please, we heard you. Arnab, this is not a way to debate.
We have sat quietly and watched.
I need my time.
Sanju.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. Arnab, first and foremost, I think the address by the Prime Minister today was outstanding in more ways than one. And I'll
It
tell
was
you
maladroit.
why.
It was not
You know, I
outstanding.
did not disturb
It
this
was
man.
so
I will not
inelegant.
speak if you cannot
You know,
raise the man.
The first
Okay, Pankaj. Okay, Pankaj. I said I came to you before her. Let's listen to each other. She heard you. Thank you, Pankaj. Continue. Thank you. Reduce the volume. Continue.
Thank you. Arnab, I think it was an outstanding address. And, you know, we don't need certificates from old Congress darbaris, what has been, and retainers et al. Coming to the moot point, I will borrow your phrase. I think the Prime Minister did not engage in any form of subtlety, and I think he was as direct as one could possibly be, which deserves unadulterated appreciation, and I'll tell you why. It was high time the bluff of the Congress was called out. First and foremost, as a proud tax-paying Indian, today more than 170, more than 170 crore vaccine dosages have been administered, which I think is a marvelous achievement in itself. Everybody from the Congress camp has a large, big omelette on their faces because they said by the end of 2021, by the end of 2025 also, we will not even be able to administer 100 crore doses. So there you are, your lies have been called out. The second and most important thing, you know, Randeep Surjewala put out a tweet saying, Modi Sarkar ki nikammi policies ke karan logon ne apni jaan kho di. So I want to tell Mr. Surjewala, pehle apne gireban mein jhank kar dekhiye. Out of the 4.5 lakh COVID-related deaths in India, Maharashtra, where the Congress today is in alliance and in power, has reported more than 1.43 lakh deaths. This is the same Congress party, be it a Jairam Ramesh or be it a Shashi Tharoor. I remember their tweets from April 2021 when Covaxin was given the emergency approval by the Modi government. Shashi Tharoor said, the Modi government is treating Indians like guinea pigs. And ditto phrase used by Jairam Ramesh. And today again, I'm so proud that Covaxin is formally acknowledged by the World Health Organization and is one of the biggest vindications of the Make in India campaign. The third and most important thing, this whole narrative about inflation. First and foremost, let me tell you, there's a global food crisis from the US to UK to Brazil to Argentina to most European countries are seeing their highest inflation ever since 1975. And we, in the last 7 years, the average retail inflation of the Modi government is 4.9%. Under the Congress, the average retail inflation under UPA 2 was more than 8.4% retail.
It's a very long answer.
More than 14%.
The statistics can continue.
Let me finish. I think
Madam,
the most important
it is
thing
because
that I
of
want to
your
say
No, but
is
that's a very long run of statistics. Let's go into the point of the debate.
In the first and second wave,
I'll wrap up, Arnab. Can I
there
take
is
20
no
seconds
point
to wrap up?
blaming the Congress.
Okay, let her
now.
wrap up. Okay,
When
Abdul Razak, let her
elections
wrap
are
up.
just
She
1
says she's
week
wrapping up. Okay, let her wrap up now. Razak, coming to you after this. Sanju says she's wrapping up. So, okay.
Okay. I'll wrap up by saying that I never thought, and I doubt anyone on this panel thought, that Article 370 will be revoked during our lifetime. People threw a gauntlet at the Modi government challenging his bona fides, and Article 370's revocation is the biggest endorsement of the fact that we don't only believe in Naya Kashmir, we believe in Naya India also.
Okay, Sanju. Yeah, okay, Sanju, that's a very, very long intervention. I need to keep this as a debate and not a discussion. 1 minute. Abdul Razak, take a question, please. Thank you. Abdul Razak, take a question, please. You're on the debate right now with Smita Prakash. Just 1 minute, please. You see, the point is, viewers, the point is, when a Prime Minister stands up in the floor of the House, Smita, and says this party which used to run this country, is the leader of the Tukde-Tukde gang. We must understand the gravity of that remark. A prime minister doesn't normally say things like this. Obviously, there has been a series of events which have led to this. So, Mr. Razak, before you go on, about, standard response, just think about it. I'm positioning one thing to you. Rahul Gandhi, who I began by saying has become an embarrassment. He had become, actually the more appropriate way to say it is, Razak, he has become a greater embarrassment. But he also, unfortunately, holds the prospect of becoming a greatest embarrassment. As of now, Rahul Gandhi said the full integration of Kashmir is a strategic mistake. He stands on the floor of the House and he says, we have made a strategic mistake in Jammu and Kashmir, referring to the abrogation of Article 370. Which national party will go against the complete integration of Kashmir with the rest of India? Who will? Who will, Razak? Just answer. That's why the Prime Minister has called your party the leader of the Tukde-Tukde gang. Please respond now.
Modi ji's habit to target Congress. Arnab ji, it has become Modi ji's habit, to target
No. It is Rahul Gandhi's.
He failed in Delhi.
It is Rahul Gandhi and the Vadra Congress's habit to target the country.
There is absolutely nothing.
No, I'm not discussing Uttar Pradesh, yaar. I'm discussing what the Prime Minister said today, which I think is an enormous statement.
The condition of the country today, Arnab, after having sold our public sector undertakings, after having sold the national assets, you
answer the question I asked you. Your leader has opposed the integration of Kashmir with the rest of India. You answer the question. No, you answer the question. No, you answer my question. No, you answer my question.
Modi ji has been the Prime Minister for the past 7 years. Why is he still in the opposition mode? Why is he still targeting Congress? He has to boast about what he has done in the past 7 years. His mismanagement on COVID, right from Notbandi, he is answerable to everything. Today, when he is unable to answer anything...
Okay, you're not making a point. Well, I'll go to Nina. I'll go to Mr. Herring on the right before I come to Smita. Mr. Herring. Mr. Herring, let me come to you. Mr. Herring, one minute, just a minute. Just a minute, Mr. Herring, just 1 minute. Mr. Herring, you tell me. Just, let's keep our composure. And Rakesh Sinha is there. Smita, I'm just coming to you in a minute. Rakesh Sinha and Mr. Herring, your leader, if you still consider him, has stood in the House of Parliament and said that we have made a huge strategic mistake in Jammu and Kashmir. Meaning that he is against the abrogation of Article 370. Which other national party will oppose the integration of Kashmir, full integration with the rest of India? That's why the Prime Minister has been forced to describe your party as the leader of the Tukde-Tukde gang. Mr. Herring.
Good evening, Arnab. We've always had very fruitful discussions. And tonight's discussion also is, it is only on the Tukde-Tukde gang. Why Congress is being called a leader of the Tukde-Tukde gang. Now, let us go only to that topic. I'll not go to 370. I will not go to what the Congress has done and not done in the last 70 years. That even Mr. Rupen Bora, who was one of our MPs in Rajya Sabha, has spoken very nicely. And our honorable leader, Sri Rahul Gandhi, has given a very emotional speech regarding his grandfather, his mother, his own father. So these were very emotional speeches. Great-grandfather, grandmother, and his father's sacrifice to the nation. So it was very emotional. Now, when you speak about Article 370, you want to know that, I'll just let me complete.
Yes.
We have also the same problem, 1873 Bengal Frontier Regulations. So all these things are also there, which are being discussed by most of our BJP friends. But we, Arunachal Pradesh, like say Nagaland or the Northeast states from where you also come, we have some reservations and we need some kind of protection. Now here, when you say a Tukde-Tukde gang, I'm only saying one point I'd like to say is that the Honorable Prime Minister, we have very high esteem for him. We have all our respect for him. In fact, our own Chief Minister, Sri Pema Khandu, always said सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास, सबका प्रयास, and he is doing it. So I will not say, I'm not saying about the Congress or the BJP, but the way that our Prime Minister says that it is, Congress is a leader of a Tukde-Tukde gang. When you say about the IITs, when you say about the AIMS, when you speak about the Aryabhatta, when you speak about all these colleges and institutions that have come up, let us also think of that also.
But Mr. Ehring,
Congress, I will not say Congress has done good.
No, but Mr. Ehring, your leader. No, but Mr. Ehring, I'll give you. Can I give you a couple of?
To Honorable Prime Minister, I have full respect and esteem for him. But
yes,
he cannot fall to such a low level and say that Congress is a leader of the Tukde-Tukde. I feel very hurt. It's very, that respect I had for him. We feel.
I want to. Okay. Rakesh Sinha will respond to you. But before that, let me tell you, with the greatest of respect, I enjoy interactions here, that your leader Rahul Gandhi in Parliament demoralized our forces by praising China, which is an enemy nation, a threat to the people of the country and to the people of Arunachal Pradesh, when he said China has a plan, right? So your leader has effectively gone against national interest, and you are the party which has given Kanhaiya Kumar complimentary membership, and Kanhaiya Kumar is the same person who raised the very slogan, Bharat Tere Tukde Honge, in 2016. Your party has rehabilitated Jignesh Mewani. He's the person who called for street war. He's been given membership of your party. Your party has a leader called Saifuddin Soz, who in 2018 says, Musharraf said, Kashmiris don't want to merge with Pakistan. Their first choice is independence. The statement was true then and remains true now. Your party has been against the complete integration of Kashmir with the rest of the country. That is why the Prime Minister is compelled to call it out. I don't know why the Prime Minister should remain subtle about it. I'd like Rakesh Sinha to respond to you. Rakesh Sinha.
Arnab, when you coined the term Tukde-Tukde gang, I believe that it means, if I articulate in the term of the social science, the extreme extra-parliamentary forces. In any democracy, such forces germinate when the main opposition parties get weaker and weaker. And here Congress party, when my colleague was saying that Prime Minister has gone low, no. Prime Minister was exposing the Congress the new low. That Congress party is in alliance with the extreme extra-parliamentary forces, whether it is Jawaharlal Nehru University led by Kanhaiya Kumar, or it is in Jammu and Kashmir, or any part of the country. Any part of the country, the Shahin Bagh, the Congress party was completely with the Shahin Bagh forces. Did the Congress party don't know that what Shahin Bagh meant? Now I am coming to the core point. Arnab, the problem of the Congress is that it is now ready to have an alliance with those forces who believe in the balkanization of the country. I am just quoting one thing that is more than enough. Rahul Gandhi and China, Chinese Xi Jinping, the leader of the Communist Party of China, they have signed a memorandum of understanding in 2008 that they would exchange the information and party-to-party contact. Now, if Rahul Gandhi is feeling that China is the #1 enemy, China has entered in the India territory, if I believe Rahul Gandhi is right, why not Rahul Gandhi break that treaty? Why not Rahul Gandhi goes against that pact which he had done with the Xi Jinping? Was Xi Jinping friend of the India in 2008?
Why doesn't he declare it?
I believe that Congress party has gone mad.
But Mr. Sinha, before that you should ask, why doesn't he? Mr. Sinha, the question is, why doesn't he declare what is in that treaty? My question is more fundamental. Why don't we still know what has he signed in that piece of paper?
Yes,
what is the understanding? What is the compulsion? Why is it not in the public domain?
Arnab, just give me 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Give me 10 seconds, sir. Give me 10 seconds. Just 10, I'm ending. 10 seconds. In 8 May 2020, Rahul Gandhi and Congress tweeted Lancet, there's a medical journal published from London, one article against India's COVID management. Forgetting that, I believe such a political party is such a mistake. Lancet magazine may be a prestigious medical journal, but in 2010, China had invested 100 million. And the South Asia editor is Helena Wang, who is a Chinese citizen. She is sitting in Beijing. She is writing editorial, and Congress party is tweeting, and whole China is blamed for the COVID infectious virus. At that time, Congress party is tweeting. This shows Congress party is mentally bankrupt. It has gone to
you
new
understand,
low,
Mr. Herring?
and I think the Congress Party Prime Minister rightly exposed Congress Party as now the leader and legitimizer of the Tukde-Tukde gang in this country.
I think, we have now come to the nub of the issue. Lokesh Jindal is on. Before that, Smita Prakash. I feel, there's some problem, Smita, that Rahul Gandhi has as far as China is concerned. He drones on and on about China. Wherever he gets an option, an obsession, or is he, what is in that paper, I ask, that he has signed with the Chinese? And then Smita, he stood in Parliament and he said, before droning on about China, he said, ask yourself why we did not get a guest on Republic Day. He said that, Smita, you noted? It is because we are surrounded. What does he mean by that? This is a COVID period. It's a pandemic.
Yeah, so the foreign minister
January 26th has come right in the middle of the Omicron crisis.
The foreign minister
yes. So yes, Smita, you get the point.
Yeah, so Mr. Jaishankar, the foreign minister, debunked all those allegations that he made with regard to a Republic Day guest. He was there or not there. The reason was, as you mentioned, that it was because of the Omicron virus, and that's why everybody stopped at that moment of time. Everybody knows why these things happen. Even about China, the fact that he brought this up, the topic was not that, but he brought this up. But besides that, when you talk about the Congress trying to break India and the Prime Minister's speech, today after the Prime Minister's speech on social media and on many television channels, the talk has been that if the Prime Minister is blaming Rahul Gandhi and blaming the Congress, why pay so much attention to a party which has in successive elections got less than 60 seats. So why bother with it? Why should Tukde-Tukde be so important to the Prime Minister? And as one of the panelists said, that why should the Prime Minister come down to that level? But just remember that there is a kind of a game plan to this whole thing. When Rahul Gandhi talks about India not being a nation, it's just not a flippant remark that you talk about India being a union of states and not a nation. What is the grand plan in this? Politically, the grand plan, Arnab, is that if the country doesn't think of itself as a whole, if all states start thinking of themselves separate, then what you have is a khichdi which comes up. That every party, regional parties will come up in every state, because you don't see a nationalist party. So you think of every party, every state having its own aspirations. And then what happens? Then the default mechanism will be to head towards the Congress as a default mechanism or a default party of power. So let's go to that. Exactly what happened many years ago. That all these parties got together and say, hey, we have 10 seats, we have 15 seats, we have 20 seats. So who will who will come and lead in that? So then it becomes that let's go towards a Congress party. So, when you are doing a policy of sowing seeds that will have this separatist notions coming about in the state, there is a grand plan. This is what the Prime Minister was probably hinting at when he said the Tukde-Tukde gang. It's not just JNU, it's not just the Khalistani movement or anything. There is a grand political plan.
Yeah, so I think that is a solid point you made there. I think Lokesh, you see what the Prime Minister has said. The Prime Minister has said today that the British have left India a long time back, but your party is still continuing on the same break and divide policy. And he said the Congress wants to break India and rule. The Congress is following divide and rule. I'll give you an example. When your leader, in whose name apparently you run a private army, he said in Parliament and he said, you will never ever in your entire life rule over the period of Tamil Nadu. It cannot be done. I'm happy the Prime Minister shut down this divide and rule formula of the Vadras by reminding the Vadras of how the Tamilans paid tribute to General Bipin Rawat. And he said, the Tamil brother says, Veer Vanakkam, to salute General Rawat. Basically, your leader tried to create a divide between the people of Tamil Nadu and the people of the rest of India. Same divide and rule policy. Why? Because you are losers. Because you hate nationalism. That's why he had said also earlier, remember he said for the first 15 years I was an MP in the north, now I have gone to the south, Kerala is refreshing. You'll come to Kerala and abuse the north, you'll go to the north and abuse the people in the south. Same divide and rule policy. That same divide and rule policy, which is why you say Hindutvawadi hamesha nafrat or hinsa phailate. Same divide and rule policy. That's why you don't agree to the abrogation of Article 370. Same divide and rule policy. That's why you have Tawqir Raza Khan who says there should be a genocide of Hindus. You understand? That's why he says Tukde-Tukde gang. Brilliant point made by Smita. Your response, Lokesh Jindal. Lokesh, yes.
First of all, the Prime Minister is only rhetorics.
After Lokesh, yes, Sanju.
He doesn't know what the core idea is. In fact, there has been a lot of institutional and legal approach to whatever is happening, but not a philosophical approach. When you're talking about Tamil Nadu, let me remind you the past. It was basically the Jansangh which had picked up the entire issue based upon the language politics. And it was Congress which came up with the three-language formula, with the formula that extending English along with Hindi as the official language, which led to reduction of all forms of resentment over there. And Tamil Nadu gladly accepted and it was integrated in India. Second point is, if you look at presently what the government has come up with the kind of budget, it has reduced the MG Narega outlay, it has reduced the food outlay, it has reduced the fertilizer outlay, it has reduced all forms of...
MR is coming on this point, then I'll come back to you.
Which were given to a common man. Please,
gentleman must know. Arnab, this gentleman must know that when every
No, 1 minute. Lokesh, you're getting a counter from MR who's very angry.
Please, let me complete. Yes, sir.
No, 1 minute. You're getting a response from MR who's very angry.
Yes.
No. See, please understand that the whole three-language formula is a creation of Periyarists and DMK. And there is nothing to do with Jansangh. Jansangh had nothing to do with this nonsense of
having, let me tell you, it was Jansangh which wanted to implement Hindi as the official language.
Please stop this.
Please.
Lokesh,
distort the history. Your party has been constantly going with revisionist attitude towards history. It wants to distort everything that has happened in the past. Let me tell you very, very certainly that it was the agenda of Bharatiya Jansangh so as to impose Hindi language in Tamil Nadu. And it was Congress which came up with this particular solution that English would be continued along with Hindi as the official language. Please do not distort
what is the issue in Tamil Nadu. So please stop it here. And don't try to distort the history of Tamils. Don't try to paint them as some sort of a separatist. They are more patriotic than your people from which you have imported from Italy. And we have people like Subramania Bharatiya, we have people like Vava Chidambaram who have laid down their lives for this country and for the independence of the country. So we don't want to learn lessons about patriotism from people who have been imported from Italy. Period. That is, I would only beseech you, we are not here to listen to this nonsense. We Tamils are too
next thing, I'll come to the topics, I'll just cover up
what you want to listen to you, sir. This is utter nonsense, utter gibberish that you're talking about.
That's a fact, that's a historical fact, you cannot deny that. You cannot deny that.
Please learn to respect Tamils. And this
now let me complete. Sir, let me complete.
Don't suspect
Let me complete, sir.
Don't think
now
that
we are in
I did not
I
object.
will not allow you to complete.
Let me complete.
We are in a...
Arnab, I will not allow this gentleman.
Sir, another thing is, now when we are talking about the Prime Minister, he has no definite roadmap so as to deal with how the situation is emerging. Now when the people's income is getting low, the Prime Minister has been taking away all forms of outlays, has been taking away all forms of perks which had been introduced by the Congress. If you talk about MG Narega, it was introduced by the Congress.
Is a Tukde-Tukde gang. Please accept
but right now the Prime Minister has
Sanju is on the debate. Sanju and then Pankaj will respond.
And at the
Sanju.
end he says, when the peasants are being exploited, when the peasants are resenting, with a capitalist form of budget, he aims at trying to portray.
Do I need to scream every time? Why can't you give it to me?
Look at Pakistan and China. Day before yesterday, the Army General M.M. Narawane himself quoted that because of the policies of the government, the army is getting exhausted with all its resources.
What kind of a debate is this? This is unfair. Yeah. May I come in now?
Cool down, everyone. Yeah. Oh, we got a few more minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Arnab, I think the most important part of the debate was when the Prime Minister said that the Congress has completely made up its mind to not come back to power in the next 100 years. Imagine this is the same Congress which was in power in West Bengal in the 1970s, 24, 27, 28 years back. It won Goa, Nagaland, Odisha, the three examples the Prime Minister listed out. I think the point is simply this. While the BJP talks about Desh, the
What
Congress
has been the
talks
history
about
of
Dal.
Bharatiya Janata Party in
While
different
the BJP
states?
talks about Vikas, the Congress talks about Vinas. While the BJP talks about bona fide intention, the Congress talks about election or wo bhi jeete nahi ho aap log. And the most important thing, you keep harping unemployment, unemployment, unemployment. There were only 500 startups in India before 2014. Today there are more than 61,500 startups. 44 unicorns came up in the last 1 year. The total number of unicorns alone is 9090.
And you keep these figures with you. The ground situation of unemployment is different.
But this,
everyone is facing.
okay,
that.
just a minute. Pankaj,
Go and ask the youth of
Pankaj,
this
a question to you.
country.
Pankaj, a question to you. Pankaj, a question to you. Pankaj, to you from me. Pankaj, to you from me. Listen to me, Pankaj. Pankaj, wait a minute. I asked Mr. Ehring, you're a reasonable man. I want you to come to the debate with Rakesh Sinha. Isn't this country yours as well? The same point that the Prime Minister made.
Yes.
This country is yours as well. You know, people are fed up with this narrative. Mr. Ehring, don't you feel terrible at what you did? As in, not you, what your party did. You were mobilizing people, trying to get them to fight each other. You were politicizing a lockdown when national unity was needed. You were spreading fake news.
So this
You did
is,
so much. And you see what's happening is, Mr. Ehring,
Arnab,
it's only your party which is going to hurt further. Whatever was left of it.
does not
Yes.
solve the things. No? We have to come to some resolutions. So when you are blaming the Congress and
Yeah, so let me then give you a let me give you a very concrete example, Mr. Ehring. You see, Mr. Ehring, let me give you a very concrete example. So let me give you an example, and I'm not shouting. I'm telling you very reasonably. What I'm telling you is,
let us
please
not
understand.
shout, because everyone is getting.
You know, your
aggravated.
party encouraged. 1 minute, Mr. Ehring. Now let me complete, please. Your party.
Yeah, I am listening.
Did it not encourage the violation of lockdown norms and ask thousands of people to gather at one railway station? Did you not want to create a chaos, a law and order situation? Didn't you do it? Didn't you spread fake news about migrant workers? Didn't you turn the pandemic into a political battleground? Didn't you put out flyers saying your ticket was paid for by Sonia Gandhi at Bhatinda railway station? I'm saying you've not been responsible, Mr. Ehring. You're a good man. But I'm talking not about you, I'm talking about your party.
Let us be very genuine in this case. What about our great actor Sood, who was really doing the job of, letting the all those.
Is he a Congress member? Was he a Congress member then? Was he doing it on behalf of the Congress party? And I won't. I have no comments to make about the other investigating agencies found in his case.
My party.
No, I will not make a comment about what the investigating agencies found in his case.
You are always shouting them out. So let us be very frank. See, about the
no, but Mr. Ehring, I am giving you one example.
So whatever has happened.
Mr. Ehring, I'll tell you. You tell me one thing. Mr. Ehring.
Now you are
Mr. Ehring, just 1 minute. Mr. Ehring,
just instigating people.
Mr. Ehring, you tell me.
That is the wrong notions that you have made, or a wrong allegation you have made.
Mr. Ehring, you may not. Okay, tell me one thing. Tell me, how do you feel?
Yeah.
How do you feel, Mr. Ehring? You're from Arunachal Pradesh. At the fact that your leader is obsessively praising China all the time on the floor of our parliament, saying that India's foreign policy has brought China and Pakistan closer, the kind of statement that an enemy of the nation would not make. Are you comfortable with that? Honestly, tell me. Are you comfortable with that?
I'm not comfortable because, let me be very frank, it's not a question of UP or the India.
That's the point. You're not comfortable. Rakesh. That's the point I made. You're not comfortable.
People of Arunachal.
Rakesh Sinha.
Rakesh Sinha. I'm just extending what did you say to him. Ask him. Just ask him.
Because of the difference of
Mr. Ehring, can you respond me? Can you respond me?
Yeah, please.
Mr. Ehring, just one simple question. how many times present Prime Minister Narendra Modi has visited northeastern state? Is it less than 24 times in 7 years?
Yes, I agree
my
to that.
data
I
may
agree
be
to that.
lesser. It may be more than. All the Prime Minister together have not visited 24 times in northeastern state. The infrastructure which has been developed. Why China is angry? China is angry that because the pre-Modi regime, they were nationalist. I don't call the Congress was not a nationalist party, but they were passive to China. Narendra Modi ji developed infrastructure at the border. China, which claimed border, and India by developing declaimed Chinese claim. That is the reason that China is.
We'll take this debate forward. The point is, Mr. Herring, Mr. Herring, I'll just have to take a break here. You see, eventually, yeah, Mr. Sinha, eventually people are judging. The word Tukde-Tukde gang was coined when some lumpens in JNU said that they would break India into 1,000 pieces. Mr. Herring, believe me, I know heart of heart you're not comfortable with the fact that your party has brought those who said Bharat tere tukde honge into your own party. You're not comfortable with it. But you're in the party. The rest of the people of the country are certainly not. On the other side tonight, the Prime Minister's speech today was so direct, we must see the clip where he says, you may hate me, but don't turn your hate into frustrated action against your own country's national interest. That, where Modi says, hate me, but don't hate the country, on the other side.